They never kicked me out. They never said, "We don't love you." But silence, indifference, that cuts deeper than words. So I stopped begging for a seat at their table and built my own. There's a special kind of pain in being tolerated, not celebrated. In being the afterthought, not the priority. For years, I thought if I just worked harder, smiled brighter, or needed less, they'd finally see me. But some people don't want to see you. They want to keep you small. Then one day, I stopped trying to fit into spaces that made me feel alone. I started building something they couldn't ignore. And now, they whisper my name like a rumor they wish they believed in sooner. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or pushed to the sidelines, hit like right now. And subscribe if you believe in turning rejection into your greatest revenge. Rejection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. A birthday forgotten. A conversation that moves past you. Achievements met with silence. The hardest part? You can't fight what's never said. You just ache, wondering, why am I never enough? The awakening, the moment everything changes, isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's not a shouting match or a door slamming shut. It's you, alone in your car or staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., realizing the truth. Their indifference was never about you. For years, you twisted yourself into smaller versions, thinking if you took up less space, they'd finally love you. You memorized their moods, swallowed your words, and called it loyalty. But here's what they never told you. Some people don't want to love you. They want to keep you available for their convenience. The awakening isn't anger. It's grief. Grief for the time wasted begging for scraps from a table you were never invited to. Then comes a second realization. You were never the problem. Their inability to see you, celebrate you, or hold space for you wasn't a reflection of your worth. It was proof of their limitations. Love shouldn't feel like a negotiation. You shouldn't have to earn your place in someone's life with silence and sacrifice. The shift happens when you stop asking, "Why don't they love me?" and start asking, "Why did I ever settle for this?" That's when you reclaim your power. No grand speech, no confrontation, just a quiet decision to stop feeding a love that only starves you. You begin to see the patterns. The way they brighten around others but dim when you enter a room. How your victories are met with shrugs, but their minor inconveniences demand your attention. It was never love. It was control. And the moment you see it, you can't unsee it. The awakening isn't about them. It's about you. Finally choosing yourself, not as a rebellion, but as a homecoming. You stop keeping score. You stop waiting for an apology that will never come. You just walk away. Not with a bang, but with the quiet certainty of someone who finally knows their worth. And that's when the real life begins. The exit. Leaving isn't always about walking out the door. Sometimes it happens long before your body moves. It's the day you stop waiting for their approval, like it's the last train home. You realize you've been standing at the station for years, ticket in hand, while they kept changing the schedule. So you crumple the ticket, not in anger, but in relief. The exit begins in your mind, a silent shift where their opinion no longer holds the weight it once did. You stop editing your joy to make it more palatable for them. You stop dulling your shine because it makes them uncomfortable. The first time you say no without apology, it feels like rebellion. The 100th time, it feels like freedom. Detachment isn't cold. It's the warmth of redirecting your energy inward. You stop explaining yourself to people who've never bothered to understand you. You stop mistaking their indifference for depth, their silence for wisdom. The hardest part isn't letting go of them. It's letting go of the fantasy of who they could have been. The parent who should have protected you. The sibling who should have cheered for you. The friend who should have shown up. Grieving that illusion is the price of the exit. But on the other side, there's a lightness you forgot existed. You start filling your life with people who don't make you question whether you belong. You rediscover old hobbies they mocked and realize they weren't silly. They were just yours. The exit isn't a single moment. It's 1,000 small choices. Choosing your peace over their drama, your growth over their comfort, your truth over their narrative. And one day, you'll look back and wonder why you ever handed them the pen to your story. Because the exit isn't about them noticing you're gone. It's about you finally noticing yourself. The first investment, the most radical act isn't rebellion. It's devotion. not to them, but to the version of you they never believed in. That first investment feels dangerous, like you're stealing time from people who've always demanded it for free. You open a savings account they don't know about. You enroll in the course they call a waste. You spend Saturday mornings practicing instead of performing for their approval. At first, it feels like betrayal, because they trained you to believe your dreams were selfish. But selfishness is just self-preservation in a world that wanted you to stay small. That first check you write to yourself is more than money. It's a contract, a promise that you'll no longer fund their neglect with your silence. The investment isn't always financial. Sometimes it's turning down drinks with toxic friends to work on your portfolio. Sometimes it's paying for therapy instead of that birthday gift for the parent who forgot yours. Every no to them becomes a yes to you, and that's when the math changes. You start measuring time differently, not in their attention, but in your progress. The numbers add up: skills gained, pounds lost, savings grown. Their voices fade beneath the sound of your own applause. There will be pushback. People who benefited from your scarcity will resent your abundance. They'll call you changed as if growth were a crime. Let them. The first investment is the moment you realize you weren't broke. You were just pouring all your currency into the wrong economy. Now the dividends compound in quiet ways. Better sleep, stronger boundaries, a smile in the mirror that doesn't beg for validation. You'll look back at that first leap, the class you took, the business license you filed, the gym membership you prioritized, and recognize it for what was not an expense, but the down payment on a life where you finally feel a home. The small wins. Progress doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers in the quiet moments between who you were and who you're becoming. Those first small wins feel almost accidental at first. The first week you consistently wake up early without hitting snooze. The first chapter of the book you're writing instead of just dreaming about. The first time you choose water over wine, not because someone shamed you, but because you finally value how your body feels more than how others perceive it. These victories seem insignificant to outsiders, but you know the truth. Each one is a brick in the foundation of your new life. No one throws a parade for the night you finally delete their number, or the morning you walk into the gym, despite the voice telling you you don't belong there. But these are the moments that matter most, when you show up for yourself in ways no one ever did for you. The magic isn't in the scale of the achievement, but in the silent rewriting of your story. That completed online course no one knows about, that's you proving your intelligence to yourself, not performing it for others. The side hustle earnings that could barely buy coffee, that's the first evidence that your time has value. Small wins condition you to trust yourself again after years of seeking external validation. They become your private language of rebellion. Every rep at the gym a middle finger to those who said you'd never change. Every saved dollar a quiet, watch me, to those who assumed you'd always struggle. The cumulative effect sneaks up on you. One day you'll catch your reflection and realize the person staring back moves through the world differently. Shoulders back, not from arrogance, but from the quiet confidence of someone who's kept promises to themselves. These small wins were never really small. They were the training ground for the life ahead. Proof that you could build something meaningful even when no one was watching. The silence. There's power in what you don't say, in the space between your old desperation and your new dignity. The silence isn't empty. It's fertile ground where the real work happens. You stop announcing your plans to people who've only ever doubted them. No more performative struggles for sympathy. No more broadcasting your pain like a currency to buy their care. This quiet isn't suppression. It's liberation. The moment you realize your most profound transformations will go unnoticed by those who claim to know you best. While they're still arguing about who you used to be, you're becoming someone they won't recognize. The world mistakes silence for absence, but you know better. In the unobserved hours, you're rebuilding yourself cell by cell. That's when the magic happens. When no one's watching to critique your process or claim credit for your growth. You develop a new relationship with time, no longer measuring your progress against their attention cycles. The work becomes its own reward. The satisfaction of problems solved, a skill mastered, a boundary held without needing witnesses. You discover the paradox. the less you seek validation, the more your actions align with your authentic self. Old triggers lose their power when there's no audience for your reactions. The silence becomes your sanctuary, where you finally hear your own voice clearly, unfiltered by their expectations. You're no longer feeding energy into the black hole of their opinion, and suddenly, there's so much more fuel for your actual dreams. People will mistake your quiet for stagnation, not realizing this is how metamorphosis looks before the wings emerge. Let them. The most powerful revolutions aren't televised. Your silence isn't passive. It's the ultimate act of redirection. Every unsaid word, every unshared victory channeled back into your becoming. When you finally step back into the light, they won't understand what changed, only that something has. And by then, you'll be too far ahead to explain. The momentum. There comes a turning point where effort stops feeling like pushing boulders uphill and starts feeling like catching a wave. The universe begins conspiring in your favor precisely because you stop begging for its approval. Doors you never knocked on start opening. Strangers mention opportunities that align perfectly with your hidden aspirations. Your old struggles now carry the unmistakable gloss of hindsight wisdom when you explain them to someone new. This isn't luck, it's physics. When you finally release the dead weight of their expectations, your forward motion becomes inevitable. The same skills they dismissed as hobbies now generate income. The personality traits they call too much become your brand's greatest assets. People are drawn to you not despite your authenticity, but because of it. You notice patterns repeating. Not the toxic cycles of your past, but new rhythms of synchronicity. That project you started in obscurity gets shared by someone influential. A client refers you without being asked. Your quiet consistency built compound interest, while others were chasing viral moments. The momentum feels surreal because it contradicts everything they taught you about worth being tied to their acknowledgement. You're not changing. You're finally being seen as you always were. Opportunities now find you because your energy isn't trapped in proving yourself to spectators from your past. There's poetry in how life repays the faith you showed when no one was watching. The work hasn't gotten easier. You've gotten stronger. The difference now? You trust the process enough to enjoy the ride. Every yes leads to another. Every connection sparks new possibilities. You're not chasing success anymore. You're standing in the center of gravity where you created through relentless self-belief. The momentum isn't just carrying you forward. It's permanently altering how far you can see. The tipping point. There arrives an undeniable moment when everything crystallizes, when your quiet accumulation of effort collides with destiny in a way that can no longer be ignored. It might be a viral post that explodes overnight, a business deal that triples your income, or simply the day you look in the mirror and recognize a person you once only dreamed of becoming. This isn't sudden success. It's the universe finally reflecting back the belief you've been cultivating in private. The tipping point sneaks up on you. One morning you wake up to interview requests from platforms that once wouldn't have replied to your emails. Your social media notifications blow up with comments from strangers who've been quietly watching your journey. Former doubters suddenly remember your potential as if they'd nurtured it all along. What they don't see are the hundreds of unpublished drafts, the rejected proposals that became learning experiences, the tear-stained pillows that witness your private moments of doubt. This moment feels like vindication, but transforms into something far more valuable. Confirmation that your inner compass was right all along. The world starts bending toward your vision, not because you change, but because you refuse to change yourself to fit its expectations. Clients seek you out for the very qualities your family told you to suppress. Your unconventional path becomes your competitive advantage. The tipping point isn't about external validation. It's the internal shift when you realize you become the person your younger self needed. Opportunities now chase you because you're no longer chasing them. Your presence carries weight because you stop making yourself small. And when the floodgates open, it's not luck. It's simply what happens when preparation meets the courage to no longer hide your light. The whispers. The irony isn't lost on you when their voices finally reach your ears. Not an apology or reconciliation, but in hushed tones of disbelief. They speak your name differently now, with a strange mix of awe and possessiveness, as if your growth was something they had secretly orchestrated rather than something you clawed from the wreckage of their indifference. You hear it secondhand. A cousin mentioning how your aunt now brags about you at family gatherings. An old friend sliding into your DMs with sudden enthusiasm after years of silence. Their whispers carry the weight of cognitive dissonance. They can't reconcile the person they remember with the person you become, so they retrofit their memories. I always knew they'd make it, they say, as if their doubt had never existed. You don't correct them. You don't need to. Their selective amnesia is its own kind of justice. The whispers grow louder. Colleagues who once overlooked you now name-drop you in meetings. Former classmates citing your success as inspiration. The same people who made you feel invisible now strain to make themselves visible in your orbit. There's no confrontation, no dramatic reckoning. Just the quiet satisfaction of watching them contort their narratives to include you now that you're someone worth including. The power isn't in their acknowledgement. It's in your indifference to it. You realize their whispers were never the goal. They're merely the background noise to a life you built despite them, not because of them. And when they finally say your name with reverence, you understand the bittersweet truth. They're not celebrating you. They're mourning the version of you they thought they could control. The power shift. The dynamic changes so gradually you almost miss it. The moment their opinion becomes background noise rather than your guiding force. You notice at first in small ways. When you decline an invitation without crafting the perfect excuse. When you wear what you love despite knowing it wouldn't meet their approval. When you realize days have passed without wondering what they think of your choices. The shift isn't marked by confrontation or dramatic declarations. It's in the quiet erosion of their influence over your emotional landscape, where their disapproval once would have sent you spiraling, now it barely registers. You catch yourself mid-thought, realizing you're no longer mentally drafting arguments to justify your existence to them. The power shift reveals itself most clearly when they begin seeking your approval, asking for career advice, complimenting your achievements with a strange mix of pride and discomfort, as if congratulating you requires them to acknowledge they were wrong. You respond with polite detachment, neither gloating nor pretending the past didn't happen. Their attempts to rewrite history, suddenly recalling supportive moments that never occurred, no longer anger you. They amuse you. The real transformation isn't that they've changed their tune, but that you no longer need them to. You observe their behavior with clinical curiosity, like an anthropologist studying a fading cultural ritual. The power shift completes when you recognize the ultimate truth. Their validation was never prize. Your freedom from needing it was. You hold no resentment. Only a quiet gratitude for the clarity their limitations force you to find within yourself. The hierarchy they built is toppled, not because you destroyed it, but because you walk so far beyond it that looking back feels like squinting at distant shadows. The balance is permanently shifted, not through vengeance, but through the inexorable mathematics of personal growth. They may never admit the change, but you feel it in your bones. You're no longer waiting at their door. You've built a home where their keys don't fit. The freedom. True liberation arrives not with fanfare, but with ordinary moments. Sipping coffee alone without loneliness, making decisions without an invisible committee's approval, realizing their voice no longer lives rent-free in your mind. This freedom isn't about them anymore. It's a quiet euphoria of unshackled potential. You wake to ambitions untethered from proving anyone wrong, because being yourself has become enough. The past still exists, but its weight has dissolved. What once felt like anchors now flutter behind you like old receipts you forgot to throw away. You encounter triggers less frequently. And when you do, the emotional aftershocks last minutes instead of days. Your nervous system has rewired itself. Where their criticism once sparked panic, now it barely registers as static. The freedom reveals itself in spontaneous joys, booking solo trips without justifying them, wearing bold colors you once avoided to avoid attention, laughing louder than a version of you they tried to mold. You've stopped editing your personality for consumption, and in doing so, discovered people who adore the uncensored reality of you. The final liberation comes when you can mention their names without your pulse quickening, when memories that once stabbed now barely graze the surface. You've outgrown the need for closure, because you become your own resolution. The freedom isn't perfect. Some days the old wounds itch, but now you have tools they never gave you to soothe yourself. What they intended to break you became the blueprint for your unbreakable foundation. You recognize the ultimate irony. Their rejection was a fertilizer for your becoming. The cage door was open all along. You just needed to stop begging them to acknowledge it was there. Now you soar in skies they can't even perceive, and the view is more breathtaking than any fantasy of their approval ever was. Freedom isn't the absence of their presence in your life. It's the irrelevance of their absence to your happiness. The day you overhear someone say, "I always knew they'd be successful," and laugh because now they remember you, that's the moment you win. Not because they finally see you, but because you no longer need them to. You don't heal by making people regret underestimating you. You heal by outgrowing the need for their validation. Every ignored text, every dismissive comment, every time you cried alone, those weren't signs you were unworthy. They were signs you were in the wrong room. Build your own table. Grow so loud in your purpose that their whispers can't reach you. Success isn't just money or fame. It's looking at the people who made you feel unwanted and feeling nothing. No anger, no pride, just peace. Because you create a life so full, their approval or lack of it is background noise. The best revenge isn't hatred. It's living so well, their regret becomes irrelevant. If this hit home, smash like and subscribe. Your tribe is here. Let's keep building lives too bright to ignore. One day, you'll realize your value wasn't lost in their silence. It was found in your own roar.